Good morning, everyone. Peace out. Amazon hang loose. Today's flash briefing.
Jamie, here's your flash briefing. In NPR News.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. President Biden will host a Medal of Honor ceremony at the White House today. NPR's Windsor Johnston reports the nation's highest military award for valor will be presented to an Army Special Forces veteran who served in the Vietnam War, an honor that's been decades in the making.
Retired Army Colonel Paris Davis was one of the first black commanders to lead an entire unit in combat. In 1965, he dragged his fellow soldiers to safety during a raid on a North Vietnamese army camp despite being wounded himself. In an interview, Davis spoke about having to wait nearly 60 years for the recognition.
It's just the antithesis of that. It heightens the thing. If you got to wait that long, it's like someone promised you an ice cream cone and you know what it looks like, what it smells like, but you just haven't licked it lately.
Davis was immediately recommended for the Medal of Honor after the war, but the paperwork was apparently lost twice. Members of Davis's team have claimed that he was overlooked for the recognition because of his race. Windsor Johnston, NPR News.
New York Congressman George Santos says he will cooperate with the House ethics probe that is now underway. The Republican faces a long list of accusations that include breaking campaign finance laws and sexual misconduct. NPR's Brian Mann has more.
George Santos has been at the center of a political hurricane after it was revealed he lied to voters about his life, his education, and career office in November. There are questions about where he got and how he spent his campaign cash, and a former volunteer in Santos's congressional office has accused Santos of touching him improperly. The panel of the House Ethics Committee will now determine whether any of this amounted to, quote, unlawful activity. Punishments could range from a reprimand to a recommendation Santos be expelled from Congress. Santos admits embellishing his resume, but denies any criminal wrongdoing. Brian Mann, NPR News.
The series of damaging storms that has hit California in recent weeks has considerably cut the state's drought. NPR's Nathan Rott has more.
At the end of last year, just a few months ago, virtually all of California was in some state of drought. Today, storm after storm after storm, federal officials say only 49% of the state is still in moderate or severe drought. The relief is thanks to an unusually wet winter for the Golden State and other parts of the West, with the latest storm system capping lower elevation Southern California mountains with gleaming white snow. The drought is not over, though, federal officials warn, and low groundwater levels are still a cause for concern.
You want to describe the
Nathan
water
Rapp,
too?
NPR News.
Meanwhile, weather
gleaming white snow
emergencies
and all.
continue
What's that water
in
look
more
like?
than a dozen California counties. Some people in mountainous areas of Southern California
Tell
are
us about
trapped
that
in their
blue water.
homes by snow. Firefighters are trying to reach
Looks
them.
like a rainbow of
You're
colors
listening
and
to
chemicals.
NPR News. Court resumes this hour in South Carolina for the sentencing of disbarred attorney
just say it
Alex
snowed in the
Murdaugh.
mountains.
The formerly prominent
Gleaming
lawyer
white
was
snow.
convicted last night of murdering his wife and son in
And then there's that
2021.
bad,
He
filthy
faces 30 years
groundwater,
to
but we
life in
won't
prison
mention all
on
them
each
rainbow colors in
conviction.
it.
A court in Belarus has sentenced
Looking like an
last
old
year's
sleep.
Nobel Peace Prize co-recipient Ales Bialiatski to 10 years in prison. As NPR's Charles Maines reports from Moscow, the judge ruled Bialiatski and associates misappropriated funds to overthrow their country's government.
The founder of the human rights organization Vesnya, or Spring, Ales Bialiatski, was among thousands of Belarusians who were detained amid a brutal crackdown on protests against the continued rule of strongman Alexander Lukashenko back in 2020. 3 years later, a court in the capital, Minsk, found Bialiatski guilty of smuggling money from abroad to finance the anti-government demonstrations. 3 colleagues from Vesna were also convicted on the charges, but given slightly lesser sentences. The case was widely seen as political retribution for Vesna's push for democratic reforms in Belarus, a cause for which Bialiatski shared last year's Nobel Peace Prize with the Russian human rights group Memorial and the Ukrainian Center for Civil Liberties. Charles Maines, NPR News, Moscow.
The Justice Department says it has arrested 2 Americans and charged them with illegally selling aviation-related technology to Russia. This
Were they
violates
working
U.S.
for the
restrictions on selling
Just saying.
goods to Russia following its invasion of Ukraine. The alleged scheme also included repairing aviation equipment. The agency says the men
Yeah, they were
started
working
this
for the
operation in
government, weren't they?
2020. This is NPR.
Come on, tell us if they work for
There
the
are
government.
millions of books out there just waiting
Amazon.
for you.
Skip.
In NASA news, NASA will hold a media teleconference at 12 p.m. EST Tuesday, March 7, to provide an update on data analyzed thus far on the agency's Artemis I moon mission, the first integrated flight test of the agency's Space Launch System, SLS, rocket, uncrewed Orion spacecraft, and associated ground systems. Crew members assigned to NASA's SpaceX Crew 6 mission are in orbit following their successful launch to the International Space Station at 12:34 a.m. EST Thursday from Launch Complex 39A at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The international crew are the agency's sixth commercial crew rotation mission with SpaceX aboard the orbital laboratory. NASA has awarded the Systems Engineering Advanced Services (SCAS2) contract to Macaulay Associates Incorporated of Bellevue, Nebraska. NASA and SpaceX are targeting no earlier than 12:34 a.m. EST Thursday, March 2nd, to launch the Crew 6 mission to the International Space Station. Liftoff of SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket and Dragon spacecraft will be from Launch Complex 39A at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. NASA has awarded a contract to Analytical Mechanics Associates of Hampton, Virginia, for services to support NASA Langley Research Center's research, engineering, and science services, RSES. In weather. Currently, in Seattle it's 38 degrees Fahrenheit with mostly cloudy skies. Today, you can expect showers, with a high of 43 degrees and a low of 36 degrees.
Okay,
From
Amazon.
NASA.
Off. Glad that man got his recognition. Amazon. Tell us a joke.
What do you call an X-wing pilot who does too many barrel rolls? Puke Skywalker.
Okay. Hey, you didn't happen to steal that joke off of Star Wars, did you? All right. Have a great day, everybody. Happy Friday, Freya Day. Peace.